Somebody tell me to go. 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 Somebody tell me to go.
Welcome everybody to feature premiere number 5. I'm Ramon Russell. Thank you so much for joining us for our second to last feature premiere. And hello to all our PlayStation fans and our Xbox fans. We are rounding third base here. We've already talked about pitching and hitting, the fielding overhaul, ball player, build those loadouts. Last week was franchise in March to October. Diamond Dynasty is coming up next week, but today we're talking NextGen. Tune in live at 3 p.m. Pacific. If you can't make it, don't worry. All of our feature premieres are archived on our YouTube channel. So let's talk NextGen. We, like everyone else, is super excited for NextGen on MLB The Show 21. It's coming to PlayStation 5 and Xbox Series X and S. Today, we're talking about Stadium Creator, the feature you've all been waiting for, and we're talking about it with the engineer who coded it, Mr. John Ramsey. We will look over some created stadiums. Kyle Saul will be joining us later to talk about DualSense features, and we have a reveal and a little surprise guest, so get ready. So, Stadium Creator, let's jump right into it. It's here. Jonathan Ramsey, how you doing?
I'm doing good. Thanks for having me.
So, Jonathan, you haven't been on a stream in quite a while, so tell everybody a little bit about yourself.
Well, let's see. I've been working at San Diego studios for coming up on 18 years now. I started programming when I was 6 years old, and I was always making video games even from that age up until now. So I think I'm going to stick with it at least until I retire.
Seems like it's working out for you if you're 18 years in.
It's working great. It's working great.
All right, so how did we get here? You know, we've been working and thinking about Stadium Creator for a long time. How long have we been thinking about this feature here at the San Diego studio?
I think it first came up probably about 10 years ago. We've always been excited to do it. And it's just a matter of trying to figure out how we're going to do it and how we're going to implement it. And probably about 5 years ago now, we started getting a lot more serious about it. We started having better ideas of how we were going to take what we had. We actually had a pretty feature-rich game at that point with really detailed environments and a really detailed lighting and system that we needed to actually bring into a new system that you could create whatever environments you wanted. So it's a very complicated problem, but ultimately we've spent firm development, maybe 2 years now, and there's been a lot of different people involved, a lot of artists, a lot of engineers. There's probably been 20 people at least that have had to touch this feature to get it into the game this year.
And this is what you've exclusively been working on the last 2 years, right?
Yeah. It's actually probably been one of the most fun features that I've worked on over the years. There's just so many different aspects of it. There's a lot of different problems that we had to solve. And being the geek that I am, I like solving problems, so this was perfect.
You finally solved this one.
Well, yeah, we did.
It only took us a decade, but we did it.
It took a long time.
It took a long time, but we did it.
It would have been sooner if we could have, I promise.
This is the question that I got the most probably since I've been here is, when are you guys going to do Stadium Creator? When are you guys going to do Stadium Creator? I would get that asked every single year. And I'd always say, hey guys, we're thinking about it. We've been thinking about it for a while. We know what it needs to be. We just don't know how to get from point A to point D yet. As soon as we figure that out, it'll be in the game. And we finally been able to crack that code and figure it out. So let's talk about it. First, how many stadiums can you create?
Well, you can create 30. You'll have 30 slots when you get the game. But when you first get the game, those 30 slots are going to be pre-configured with 30 stadiums that have been created for you. And they'll be anything from just an empty template to a minor league representation of a park or a major league representation of a park, something just to help you get started. And then there'll be just a variety of other things, a variety of different parks that are all very creative and cover different themes. So you have a beach theme, you've got a mountain theme, you've got desert theme, you've got a Jurassic theme. There's just a lot of variety, and you can actually start building with those, or you can start with one of the templates and build your own.
That's a very important distinction. You and the team have created an incredibly powerful editor. You can spend hours in there. But some people would just want to get in like, you know what? I don't want to start from scratch, but I do want to make a stadium and make it my own. So that's why we're shipping the game with 30 different templated stadiums. And you can go in there and you can edit those stadiums to your heart's content and make them their own. But, you know, if you want to jump into the deep end, there are templates where there is nothing but grass and you can go crazy. So let's talk about props. I want to talk about how many props there are first. So that's my first question. How many props are there in the Stadium Creator Editor?
There's easily over 1,000. I think we're approaching about 1,200 props right now.
Wow, 1,200.
Mm-hmm.
So we were talking a few weeks ago and I was asking you this question about, we knew one of the things people wanted to do would be able to take some of the elements from an existing stadium and place it in their own stadium or mix and match. And that process is not as easy as people might think it is, because all of our major league and minor league and classic stadiums that we have in game, our artists create those from scratch. They are hand done. It takes a little over 3 months for one artist to do a stadium. And that stadium, it's like one piece. It's not pieces broken into things. That stadium is one cohesive piece of art. Can you tell us about the process of how you took that and was able to break it apart so that users could take these different items and move them around different stadiums?
Absolutely. So you already mentioned that the stadiums are a lot more like monolithic. They're just a big structure that has like a batter's eye or a scoreboard or something else built into that are the features that you envision when you think of your favorite stadium. So what we had our team of artists do is take a lot of those popular items that when you think about San Diego or Petco Park, you might think of, oh, I really think the batter's eye in Petco Park's really cool. So we try to pull out as many of the batter's eyes as we could. And it's not just a plug and play kind of thing. We actually have a totally different system in the way we actually did the Stadium Creator, is that everything's a puzzle piece that can be locked together. Batter's eye, scoreboards, light structures, all that. We were able to pull all that out. Had to do some work to condition it, but now we have all these individual pieces ready for the community to actually take advantage of. And they can start with a likeness of a stadium that they like, but then they can also customize it or personalize it to bring in their own unique character too.
Absolutely. And so speaking of batter's eye, I know somebody's going to ask this, can I create my own batter's eye? And what's going to stop somebody from putting a giant statue where the batter's eye is supposed to be? The fact of the matter is you actually can't. If you try to put any prop within, I believe, 5 or 10 feet of that wall, it just won't fit. And even if it did fit, you can't save that stadium and you can't use it. So you don't have to worry about that. The batter's eyes that are in the game, those are the only ones you can use for the batter's eye. So you don't have to worry about that. So let's jump into the crazy a little bit. So far, what's been the most fun and crazy idea you've had while building stadiums?
The most fun I had is when we first added some animated props. We have dinosaurs and cows, and there's windmills, and trying to think of what else. There's a bunch of different things that are animated. And to me, is like having some life in the stadium is really, really cool. Like if you go to a stadium in real life and you look around and see for things that are moving, there's actually not a lot of stuff that moves besides like a flag or people. So to me, it's actually to be in a created environment where there's actually things moving in the background. I did a Jurassic themed world just when I was goofing off one day, and I added a bunch of hills, and then I put a bunch of different dinosaurs all over the place. And it was really fun, and it was really lively, and I thought that was really cool.
Nice. So speaking of props, and like you mentioned, we have tons of props in the game, and some of the props will be from current stadiums that are already in the game, but there's a lot of props that we created specifically for Stadium Creator. And we have themes too. You can see some normal current day stuff. You're also going to see some fantasy stuff. You've already seen it, you know, with the UFOs and stuff like that. So we've got a nice mortgage board of different props that you can use and place around your stadium. Next question. So you mentioned props that you've been using and props that you're excited about. So one distinction we do want to make is that, yes, you will see a lot of props from current stadiums that have been in the game in the past. However, there's a lot of props that we created specifically for Stadium Creator. You're going to see farmhouses. You're going to see 150-foot trees from the Jurassic era. There's all sorts of stuff in there. So there's a lot of different props for people to use. One of the other questions that I've already been getting a lot is, what about Diamond Dynasty? Do I have to worry about people building 100-foot walls in the outfield and forcing me to play against that online?
You don't have to. We do have some different modes in the Stadium Creator, and we did have a pretty keen eye on what we considered something that you could play competitively. So there's restrictions that prevent you from doing crazy things in situations where you don't want to deal with crazy stadiums. So
right, and more specifically, when it comes to the outfield wall, the game has 150 outfield wall presets that has different dimensions, left, center, and right. If you use any of those 150 presets and you don't change anything at the wall, your stadium will remain online competitive and you can use it online. However, if you change anything but the wall color, if you move one panel 1 inch, it is now invalid and that stadium cannot be used online. And you'll notice that see that little bat up there? Once you see a circle with a strike through, that red circle with strike through, that means that your stadium is no longer usable online. So just something to remember, guys, if you want your stadiums to be used online, you have to use a wall preset and you can't touch it. So speaking of being creative, what is the biggest difference between the easy mode and professional building in Stadium Creator?
So easy mode is a way to make the Stadium Creator more accessible, because in the end it is a complex tool, but we try to hide some of that from you until you get into the pro mode. So easy mode, you get in there and you can think of it as you can personalize what's already there a little bit to your liking. So you can change a light structure for another light structure, or you can change a stand type to another stand type, or you can change a building to another building. Like there's a lot of built-in things to allow you to swap between like items. As you already mentioned, Ramon, is easy mode also prevents you from editing the field wall dimensions. So it helps you keep your creation competitive safe. So you can actually upload it to the vault and play online.
So of the 30 stadiums, I can change all of those, but 30 is the limit, correct?
Right, you have 30 slots to deal with. And then once you've created your stadium, you also have the option of uploading it to the vault.
All right, there it is. So I want to jump back on the wall for a minute, because I think this was one of the two things we were most excited about during the genesis of Stadium Creator. Like that was the feature we had to have. We had to give people the ability to take the foul poles and the wall dimensions and move them around. Can you tell us how you figured that out programming wise?
Absolutely. The funny thing was, when we first started talking about Stadium Creator as a feature, I asked the question, I'm like, what's more important, gameplay or what's outside the stadium? So basically think of the stadium itself or the field walls, because field walls greatly impact gameplay. That was the first response. Of course, ultimately everything became important, so we tried to accommodate everything. But the first thing that I actually worked on and iterated on was the field wall dimensions. It's surprisingly difficult, number one, just to create any shape of field wall and build pads, and then add things like doors and windows on top of that. Then you start thinking about building in restrictions. Once you go into pro mode, we talked a lot about easy mode, but once you go to pro mode, you get access to all of the wall editing. When you're looking at your outfield walls, you've got around the foul poles, you can adjust the walls between 270 feet and 500 feet in depth. And then at center field, you can adjust between 350 and 500 feet. So you should always be able to have a playable field as far as size goes and get the gameplay you're expecting. You also have the ability to adjust wall heights up to 40 feet.
So green monster all around. Basically put green monster around the whole stadium.
You can do that if you want, but then you're playing that on your own, because that's not a competitive, safe
right.
Field. So you can have fun doing that, because I'm sure there's going to be lots of fun environments that you can create and fun gameplay scenarios, but they're not going to be competitive friendly. That's why we restrict that. If you get in a situation like that, you've edited the field walls and you found something cool, but you want to make your stadium competitive safe again, you can actually just change out to a different field wall template, and that resets all that for you.
Boom, there it is. So let's talk about the stands. And this is, I think for my money, one of the top 3 coolest quality of life features in Stadium Creator is this snap function. Because people have been asking, how does the stands work? How do I make sure I line my stands up? John, can you explain how the snapping feature works?
Absolutely. So I tried to make it as automatic as possible. When you're working in a 3D environment and you have a controller that can only move in a total of 4 directions, forward, back, right, or left, you have to do something to allow you to actually position something on an actual full 3D. So we have a total of 3 different elements. We have basic movement, front, back, right, left. You have a toggle to go up or down, but you also have the ability to turn on this snapping mode. And snapping will work across every element, but it works great with the stands. What you do is pick a stand, you place it where you want it, and then you go select another section of stand, and then you turn on snapping with L3. Once you get the stands close, like a left edge close to the right edge of another stand, it'll start moving slowly over to it. And once it starts moving like that, you just hit X to confirm, and it'll snap automatically to that. And then not only that, it'll actually put another piece of stand where it thinks you want the next one. So you can actually create a long segment, or you can create a big arch of stands really quick. And all you have to do is worry about positioning the first one, and everything else kind of comes automatically after that. Not only can you use that for stands, you can use that for everything else. So if you're placing road sections, you place a piece of road and then you start snapping roads, and you can paint a mile-long road in just a few seconds. And it is a really powerful feature, and it has a little bit of a learning curve, but once you get into that, it's actually an incredibly useful feature, and I'm sure people will be able to use that a lot to make sure their alignments and the way they position everything in their environments is actually as accurate as they want it to be.
You can really go crazy in the minutia. Speaking of going crazy, there is a limit. Also at the top, you'll see a few other icons. One of those icons is memory limit. There is a limit to how many props and how crazy you can go basically before your machine is ready to start smoking. So you want to pay attention to how much memory you're using. You'll see as you place more props, you'll get closer to that 99% mark. And you want to stay under that when you're creating your stadium. John, you've been working on this feature for over 2 years. What has been the hardest thing about creating this powerful tool?
Really, the hardest thing is figuring out what's a reasonable way to actually make something like this accessible to people that just want to go in and spend a couple minutes and make something fun to play that's personalized, so they have a little bit more ownership, and then also allow a fan that's actually more into the sandbox, create whatever you want and take the time to do it and actually expose that kind of functionality too. So it was basically figuring out all of the different tools that would make up the feature itself so that it's basically accessible to everybody. We talked a little bit about easy mode. If you go into the hub, there's a little randomize button. You can load in the cornfield stadium that comes as default, and you can randomize it, and it'll change a bunch of stuff out for you, and you'll have something a little bit different. And then you can go in and you can swap things a little bit more. You don't have to know a lot technically to be able to do that, but then you basically have your own. You can configure some other options like the name of the stadium as well. It allows you to personalize it, make it your own, and then when you go into the pro mode, basically unlocking everything. We have a totally different problem, is that we have to watch things like frame rate or performance overall. There's a lot of technical hurdles that we have to look out for because you can't make a whole forest of trees.
Right. Yeah, and speaking of technical hurdles, that's exactly why Stadium Creator is a next-gen only feature. It's a beast of an editing tool. When everybody gets their hands on it, they'll see that. If we could have put it on last gen, we would have, but it wasn't really possible. It is a next-gen only feature, so we want to reiterate that. I have to ask, what are you most proud of? Since you've been working on this for so long, and as a studio, we've been talking about it for so long, what are you most proud of with this editor?
Well, jokingly, but not jokingly, that we finally finished it. Okay, so there's some features we've talked about for so many years that we all want to do. And so the fact that we're actually at a point now where we can talk about it and we're excited to share it with everybody, this was a major feat.
Yeah, it's been incredible just to see how the feature has really taken shape. I remember when shadows didn't work and the lighting was all messed up, and then I came into the studio one day and I'm capturing footage. I'm like, oh, we have shadows now, and the lighting actually looks fantastic. This is great. It's definitely been a labor of love for everyone here at the studio, and we want to thank everybody who worked their butts off making Stadium Creator on next-gen consoles a real thing this year as we're moving into next-gen. And we want to thank Jonathan Ramsey for stopping by and giving us all the deets on the genesis of this feature.
Thank you so much for having me.
Now, special guest, Mr. Stephen Haas joins us. We're going to look at some stadiums and maybe even talk a little DD. Stephen, how you doing?
I'm doing great, Ramon. It's awesome to be a part of the next-gen experience.
That is crazy. So we got a lot of new fans this year moving on to Xbox. Can you tell everybody who's watching what you do here at the San Diego studio?
Sure, I'm the live content senior project manager, so I manage the live team. We've got a growing team because our fans demand new content through the baseball season, and we're always reacting to what's going on, and we're changing rosters, we're changing what the newest ranked season is, or we're changing the rewards, adding moments, adding showdown, conquest. It never ends for us. That's the team I'm on. I love it. I do it every day. This is now my 6th year working on MLB The Show.
Oh man, time really flies when you're having fun. All right, let's look at some of these stadiums, man.
Sounds good. Yeah, I was taking a look at Stadium Creator today, and next gen is next level. First thing I did though, not a surprise, I watched the tutorial video, and you know who voices those, Ramon? It's your buddy, it's Coach.
Yeah, Coach does all of the Stadium Creator tutorial videos. They are very informative. So when you guys jump into Stadium Creator on next-gen consoles, make sure you go through those Coach tutorial videos. They are money.
They are. They really are. They taught me what buttons I need to press. How do I cycle through props like John was talking about? Lots of great options. So right after the tutorial video, I gave that easy mode a shot first that John was talking about. And then I tried pro mode where you can do some more props and everything. I started with a pre-built stadium, and I even gave Colin one of my screenshots here. What I like doing, adding some cool little targets around the field, see if I can hit a home run there. You can play an offline home run derby or in Diamond Dynasty or franchise. So you can add targets all around the field. They just have to be out of the field of play, I noticed. It wouldn't let me add them in the field of play. Otherwise, that might give me a little bit of an advantage there.
A little bit. Again, now we have restrictions on what you can do to stadiums to make them competitive, but man, we might have to do something like with that. My wheels are turning about some features we could create for something like that, but not this year though. Let's just move on. Let's move on.
For sure. Stadium Creator, people have talked about it being fun. I think that we're going to see some beautiful and bizarre creations from the community. I really can't wait to see what everyone comes up with in the vault. And when I added those targets, what I have to do is I upload that to the vault, then anyone can use it. They can download it to one of those 30 slots, and that's how you play online or somewhere else in the game.
Yep, we can't wait to see some of the beautiful creations everybody's going to create. All right, so we're in the Stadium Creator editor now. We're editing one of the 30 default stadiums we allow you. I'm calling this the house that Rhino built, Steven.
It looks good, and I think for a Cubs fan with Ryan Sandberg on their team, this is perfect.
Yeah, I'm building this rock monument behind the bat design. What's really cool, because there are so many different elements and landscape elements, you can get really creative by using these 4 or 5 different rock elements, and you're seeing it here, and you can create some really cool stuff in the backdrop.
Right, and we talked about the batter's eye is still intact, it's still there, so you're not going to mess with the pitching, but I am going to get a little distracted when you have a dancing bear or whatever that statue is at the very top.
I tried to put a bear at the top, I just couldn't line it up right. But yeah, like we mentioned earlier, the batter's eye is no man's land. Around 10 feet, you can't have anything around the batter's eye, and you can't really put something directly on top of it. Right, so you can't. I wanted to put a hit it here sign directly on top of my batter's eye, but you can do it. You just can't put it like where the batter's eye is. And I thought that was fun. Like maybe if I put like 5 rows of hit it here signs at the top of the batter's eye, so the area where you'll see the pitcher's arm motion, all of that space is sacred. It's either a wall or it's a batter's eye. But I have done some builds where I've put a few things directly on top. But since that's not in the field of play, it should be fine.
Exactly, and I love how quick we're moving through this. Maybe we're speeding up the video a little, but it's easy to do this and make these custom changes. We're looking at buildings, we're talking about signage, we're talking about rocks and statues. You can see how fast we're just ripping through this.
Yeah, you can spend hours in the Stadium Creator editor. Hours, just trying to get the perfect field. I've spent hours just trying to create. I want to do this crazy like Red Sox / Petco Park outfield dimensions. You can get really creative. And again, like we mentioned, if you use any of the 150 presets, your stadium can be used competitively online. If you change the wall, you move one wall panel, it's now invalid, and you'll see it because you'll see that bat has a big red strike through in it.
Exactly, yeah. As soon as you touch that left field corner, I'm like, uh-oh, can't use this one online, so I don't need to worry about your rhinos. If I want to make the craziest outfield, like you're doing these zigzag patterns or the mountain and all that, and I want my buddy to see it, we can play. We can still match up and still have a good time, or you can come over and we're going to try to hit it over those crazy 40-foot high walls you're going to build.
Indeed.
Ramon, I'm really excited for what the community can not only make with the Stadium Creator, but also where can I play with it? So let me ask you a few questions. I'm going to hit you with these. How about Play Now? There's Exhibition Live rosters, Online Rated, and Retro in that Play Now group. Can I use my Stadium Creator there?
Yes, you can use Stadium Creator in Play Now.
Now, last week, we heard about Franchise from Kyle and Clayton. How about there? Can I use Stadium Creator in Franchise?
Yes, you can use Stadium Creator in Franchise as well.
How about Road to the Show when I've got my ball player?
Yes, you can play in Road to the Show. In fact, you can play in all these modes with your created stadium in MLB The Show 21. To go a little further, like you said, Play Now includes Exhibition Live rosters, Online Rated, and Retro mode. You can also use Stadium Creator in franchise mode and Road to the Show, but you can also use it in Diamond Dynasty Online ranked seasons, Battle Royale, and events. You can also use it in Diamond Dynasty single player versus CPU and extra innings. Now, the thing with online to remember is we have wall restrictions. You have to use one of the 150 wall presets or your stadium will be deemed invalid to use online. It's also available in Offline Home Run Derby, Options Explorer, Custom Practice, and the postseason.
That's awesome. I took it into Offline Home Run Derby. I had some fun hitting some targets. That was a blast. You set up whatever you want in Home Run Derby and try to hit them. That was fun for me. So that's quite a list. We know this was a multi-year project that our development team was working on, but I know there are also some modes, Ramon, that we don't support Stadium Creator in NextGen, right?
Yes, unfortunately, there are a handful of modes that are not compatible with Stadium Creator this year. Like you said, it was a multi-year process. We wanted to get it in everywhere. We just couldn't. So where Stadium Creator is not supported right now is Online Play with Friends, Online Home Run Derby, March to October, Custom Leagues, and Diamond Dynasty Conquest, Showdown, Moments, and Casual.
Thanks for clarifying that, Ramon. What I'm seeing here, though, plenty of options if you like single player games or if you like being competitive online. Just don't touch those wall presets like you said.
Yeah, absolutely. Long as you don't touch the wall presets, you can create a stadium to your heart's content and do anything else that you want to do. Everything else is open game. We can't wait to see what everyone creates.
You're talking about competitive modes, right, Ramon?
Yes, anything online in a competitive setting, you cannot move the outfield walls. You have to use one of the 150 presets. Now, you can change the color of those walls in the fabric. You just can't move them. If you move them, that stadium will be deemed invalid for online play. However, offline, you can do whatever you want and create the next great green monster or whatever you want to do to your heart's content. But online, we do have those restrictions.
That sounds fair.
What are you most looking forward to? I'm assuming you're like me, you're looking forward to what the community is going to build.
Absolutely. And, I think something that I may try to do is think about if my favorite team had a new stadium, what would it look like based on where it's located in the world? And that's kind of cool too, to kind of re-envision, like have this chance, all these powerful props and tools at your fingertips of what would your team play in if you could decide what it looked like.
Yeah, absolutely. So we've looked at a lot of Stadium Creator. Speaking of crazy things you can do, the editor is so smart. When you put doors and moss on the wall and you move the wall, it just moves with it. Jonathan Ramsey and the team did such a good job just on this editor. Like, everybody's so proud of it, and we can't wait for you guys to get your hands on it. All right, we're joined once again by gameplay producer Kyle Saul. He's here to talk about DualSense support. So Kyle, the question everybody has is, bet on ball contact. Are we going to use this new revolutionary rumble feature?
Oh yeah, we wanted to bring that immersive haptic feedback right to you as a player. And so we got varied levels of intensity depending on that quality of contact. So if you've stood in a batter's box before and been jammed and you feel that ringing in the palms, you're gonna feel that on that NextGen controller. And similarly, when you get that perfect hit, it's gonna feel like pure bliss.
Nice, perfect DualSense rumble support. What about the adaptive triggers? Are we gonna see the adaptive triggers used anywhere?
Yeah, so you're gonna have use of that adaptive trigger when you're in player lock or RTTS and using showtime throwing. You're not gonna feel too much resistance until about a quarter of the way down on that trigger. And then depending on the arm strength of the player or your player in Road to the Show will be how hard it is to depress that trigger. And then pretty cool is based on how far that throw is as how far you'll need to depress that trigger on the controller.
Oh, that's nice. Also, are any of the DualSense support, is it customizable?
Yeah, you have the ability to turn that off if you don't want it, but I can't imagine there won't be anybody that won't want to have it on.
All right. So anything else that you forgot to mention about DualSense support for the PlayStation 5?
Yeah, so you're going to feel that haptic feedback all over the game. There's left side haptic feedback, so if you're a left-handed outfielder and you got that glove on your right hand, you're going to feel it on the right side of your controller. When you're bunting, you're going to feel it in different spots on the controller depending on whether you're left or right-handed. Similarly, when you're sliding or diving on dirt, grass, feet first, head first, long, short, medium, all those are differentiated to give you a totally different and unique feel, so it's pretty awesome.
Oh, that's great. Thank you so much for giving us that breakdown on DualSense support on the PlayStation 5 for MLB The Show 21.
Thanks, Ramon.
Steven, it's great to have you back. Let's talk about Diamond Dynasty a little bit. Should we talk about a little bit of DD? Should we set up the DD stream, Steven?
Let's do it. I know this is not the Diamond Dynasty stream, but we do have a few things we can talk about leading into next week's April 15th feature premiere about Diamond Dynasty. I'll also be joined by some others from the team, right, Ramon?
Absolutely. We're going to have everybody here.
So let's talk about some things that we can kind of tease ahead to, right? We're gonna talk about new features that change how you're gonna play and approach Diamond Dynasty. That's a big one. So anyone who's returning, things are getting different, including how ranked seasons and Battle Royale rewards are changing. That'll be fun to talk about. Team Affinity, that's where you got these team-themed moments, missions. You're playing with these guys from your favorite teams or other teams, and you're getting rewards. That also changes. A lot of good updates there. Customization options and the first inning program, the feature program. We're gonna dive into it. Ramon, there's 3 words I got for you. Reveals, reveals, and reveals.
Oh, we position the Diamond Dynasty stream right before launch for a very specific reason. It is going to be fire. Like you said, reveals, reveals, reveals. We got surprises. You got reveals right now, don't you?
That's right. Can I say the words? Colin, hit it.
Someone love, someone power, some they want it all, but got nothing to back it up, so then they fall. Me, I'm not wasting time, cause everyone dies, cause put in the ground. I'll take just what I got, rise to the top, my glory found. I'm the greatest, gonna say it. You're gonna know my name so famous. 'Cause I'm the greatest, you're gonna hate it. You're gonna know my name, come on, say it.
'42 round 2, Babe Ruth, Cal Ripken Jr., Frank Thomas, Pedro Martinez, Hank Aaron, a total of 10 legends in the choice pack. We revealed the previous 5 last week. They'll be joining Jackie Robinson, Ken Griffey Jr., Willie Mays, Mariano Rivera, and Bob Gibson. Remember, you get 2 diamond choice packs in the digital deluxe edition. So you will be able to select 2 of these marvelous players in those diamond choice packs. We've been revealing legends for a while. We just revealed Hank Aaron, Pedro Martinez, Fernando Valenzuela, Prince Fielder. We finally gave you guys Prince Fielder. We got more. We're not done yet, but we're done for today. We had a great show. Super excited about NextGen Stadium Creator, 3D audio, and DualSense on the PlayStation 5. We want to thank Jonathan Ramsey, Kyle Saul, and Stephen Haas for joining us. We will be talking to Stephen and the rest of the live content team next week. It's all about Diamond Dynasty leading up to launch, and it is leading up to our last feature premiere next Thursday at 3 p.m. Pacific on Twitch, Facebook Live, and YouTube. See you soon.
Somebody tell me to go.